We are not. Okay. If anyone has questions, we have cards and pens. So you can write your question now, and we can read it when it's time. Oh, you have. Where's my toothpicks? What time is it? No. No, we're prompt. Easier, but, and since there's only 3 of them, we may, in fact. Yeah. Okay, we're going to get started. Wow. Is that too loud? Okay. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to our first Meet the Candidates night. I just want to thank John for doing the tech, and the Woodstock PTA for helping sponsor this, and Onteora just for letting us host it here. Tonight we have Cindy Bell. She's the president of the League of Women Voters for the Mid-Hudson region, which covers Ulster, Dutchess, and Orange, and she will tell you the rules.
Thanks for doing all the work, Lindsay. It was a good job. Okay, so there's a couple of announcements. One being that one of the candidates, Joanna Drescher, has dropped out of the race. So I don't know if she'll be on the ballot. Chances are she'll be there, but don't vote for her. And Leon Savage, who was our 5th candidate, has declined to join us this evening, so just for that. All right, so I'm going to go over the rules that I've already given them. We're allowing for a 3-minute opening statement. Questions are welcome, and if you need, Rebecca, can you collect questions? Okay, just raise your hand, and we'll get a card and a pen to you. And, okay, so that should be issues only, no statements, no personal remarks, and please make them legible. This is my niece, Rebecca DeGandia, who has a daughter here. She's helping this evening. She didn't know that. Okay, and please silence your electronic devices for the duration. And lastly, hold all the applause until the end. Okay, so we drew straws to see who started off, and it's Ms. Rimondo. So you can start with your, oh wait, before you do, we have time cards. And Lindsay Shantz is doing our time this evening because so, right. So she has cards that say 1 minute, 30 seconds, and stop. So the pink card means stop. Okay, Ms. Armando, you are on.
Good evening. I would first like to thank the League of Women Voters and the PTAs for facilitating this forum. I am also thankful to my fellow candidates for participating and those of you who have taken the time to attend and find out more about us. This is a testament to our shared dedication to our children. My name is Megan Armando. I have been a Woodstock resident for 15 years and currently live on Longyear Farm with my husband Mike and our 2 children. My daughter Mira attends Ulster BOCES in Port Ewan, and my son Max is a freshman here at the high school. With regards to my decision to run for a seat on the school board, it was made with the intent to be of service to the children, teachers, and families of my community. It is my hope to bring my knowledge and experience in finance, budgets, and human resources to the board. I have a strong understanding of special education and will apply my 18 years of advocacy skills to the job of trustee. I pride myself on my ability to see situations from all sides and seek ways to build on what is already established, while also acknowledging when something isn't viable and working to find an effective resolution. As a parent of a child with special needs, I have learned many lessons over the past 18 years, and I can confidently say that it is critical to meet a child where they are at when it comes to how they learn. I also know that education is broader than bookwork and testing, and that it is crucial to support the social and emotional needs of our students. As we have all navigated our way through the COVID years, we are seeing the effects on our children, and I hope to have a complete understanding of how their social and emotional needs are being addressed in our classrooms, and what supports are still needed to help our students feel safe, heard, confident, and cared for. Communication between the district and families is also an area that can continue to evolve. In the world in which we live, there are more ways than ever before to communicate, and my hope is to utilize these lanes more effectively so that our families and staff feel a deeper connection to the day-to-day happenings in our school buildings and with one another. There is value in teamwork, and it is my hope to be a team player with the current board, superintendent, administration, families, teachers, and students. I will be fair and bring an objective view to decision-making, and will always be diligent in finding solutions that enrich the lives of all of our students. I am a glass-half-full thinker and can find a silver lining in almost any situation. I believe in working smarter and not harder, paying attention to the details and data, utilizing the skill and resources that the district has in its staff members to the fullest, and continuing to cultivate a culture of kindness, trust, and equitable opportunities for all who learn and teach in the Onteora School District. Again, thank you for giving me this time to share a little about myself. I look forward to the potential opportunity of being an Onteora School Board trustee.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor.
Hi, my name is Christy Taylor. I'm a registered nurse for the past 24 years. I work at Vassar Brothers.
Do you want to move that microphone closer? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Christy Taylor. I'm a mom of 2 girls, junior in high school and a freshman, married. I'm a registered nurse for the past 24 years, mostly critical care, and I do work, so I'm not home all the time, unfortunately, but I think that's everybody here today. My concern, I've always wanted to run for the school board, but honestly, I kept putting it off because I never had time, and then I come to realize that I'm never going to have the time, so I decided to put my hat in and try and run for the school board. My concerns have always been kind of centered on school safety. There's been, not compared to the other bigger schools, but there's been an increase of school fighting, I guess, that I've heard about. It might just be that I wasn't aware of it and it kind of always happened and it's just coming out because of social media, or there might actually be an uptick. That's something I'd like to find out about and how we can work together to stop that. I don't know if it's post-COVID and just kind of getting back and socializing, or if it's something else going on. But I like to think that I can put my kids on the bus, they'll get there safely, and that they can learn in an environment where they feel safe and they can come home to me every night safe. Like I said, I do work an hour from home, so I want to be able to work and be comfortable that my kids are in a caring environment and that everybody in the building is safe. And I hope that we can kind of figure out what's going on and maybe work together to come to an end to that. I'm a big proponent of the SRO. I was not a fan of the the late start, so I'm glad to hear that it's been tabled for now. And I would like to work with the teachers to see if it happens to come up again, to see what's their thinking on it and how we can work together so that we can have the kids getting enough sleep that they need to. I don't know if that's a social media problem. Again, it seems we keep coming back to social media. Maybe it's, sports, maybe it's home life, maybe it's too much homework, I don't know. So I would like to see what we can do for that so that the kids get enough sleep, families are cohesive, and they can be safe and loved and cared for, and everybody feel like they can talk openly and honestly about what's going on. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lynch.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy, and really thanks so much to you, Lindsay, for pulling this together. I hope that this is the start of more communications and open dialogue with community members and those in the school. I think that's really needed, and so I'm really happy. Thank you for inviting us. My name is Sarah Lynch, and I'm running for school board for 3 reasons. The first is that I have a background in public policy and communications, and I hope that can lend itself to this role. I spent the last part of the last 15 plus years working in a very large organization called CARE, which is a global humanitarian agency, and we do community development and humanitarian work in over 100 countries, and I was on the senior leadership team with 10,000 employees. So I know a lot about complex systems management, working across different stakeholder groups, and thinking about ways in which we together can find both data-driven and measurable successes together as a team. And I have a curiosity about what drives change in communities, and I'm really fascinated by those drivers of change, and feel strongly that, especially in a rural community, that it takes all of us to think about what's best for the students in this community specifically. I'm now working closer to home. I'm just started in January with a new consulting firm called Global Health Visions, which is based in Saugerties. And I'm consulting with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on a new strategy around women in leadership, which is pretty exciting. And really enjoy that work quite a bit, and thinking about what policies are barriers to women exceeding in an economic recovery from this global pandemic. So again, it's data-driven decision-making, it's focused on results, and it's curiosity about what drives change that is my everyday work, and I really would love to extend that to this school board. The second reason I'm running is because I have 3 young kids at the Phoenicia School. I'm the only candidate that's running with kids in the K-3 schools, and I feel really strongly about building connections and being a liaison to those buildings in the K-3 schools, as well as the UPK program, which I had the benefit of joining the Morningside learning session last night with our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, and she talked a lot about that vision of bringing kids along from pre-K all the way through to 12th grade, and I think that's really important. Early childhood education is key to many successful outcomes, and I'm keen to advance those. The last thing I'll say is that I believe in public education because it's the foundation of our democracy, and I'll leave it there and open to your questions. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody want a card to ask questions? You are the quiet type. Okay. Oh, okay, excellent. Because this is my 4th event of this nature, and I had done Saugerties, Kingston, and Greenville. So I brought some questions from them, just so that you can get to know these folks. Okay, so we're doing the 2 minutes. Oh, good, we have questions. And I'm just going to start off with. Okay. First one is going to be a general question. It's what is a school board member's role and responsibility, and how does that role differ from the role of the superintendent or administration? You're next. we'll start with Ms. Taylor.
I feel like the school board is an adjunct to the superintendent and the teachers. I'd like to think of it as a go-between between the teachers and the community. I want to hear what everybody has to say and then be able to make a fair decision that's going to impact the whole community equally. I was part of years ago when we were breaking up the K through 6 buildings and moving everything. I honestly did not think that my voice or my small community in Olive was heard when everything was broken apart. And I think we were greatly impacted by that. So I would like to be the person on the board that hears everybody and actually takes into account everybody, and not just maybe the loudest voices or the ones that make the most noise, but everybody equally, and work with the superintendent to make the school better for the children.
Thank you. Ms. Lynch?
Yeah, I think the role of the school board is about effective management of what the New York State School Board Association calls the 4 Bs, right? So it's budgets, buses, buildings, and ball fields. And I think it's not just about effective management of the 4 Bs, but how we manage those 4 things effectively, and making sure that we're weaving in the fabric of the community and the needs of the experts who are doing this work, and really listening and asking what they need to make it work. I also believe that a role of the school board is to advocate for resources and for partnerships. I don't think that necessarily needs to be new resources, but I think it needs to be resources in every definition of the word. And the last thing I'll say is that it's about holding our superintendent accountable for positive outcomes as it relates to student achievement.
Thank you. Ms. Armando?
I believe the school board is responsible for being a conduit of information from the school itself and the district itself to the community and vice versa. I also believe that it's our school board's job to advocate and make decisions based on current data that's collected and reaching out to resources to get the best information possible to make decisions, and also take into take into consideration the community at large and budgets and sticking to what we say we're going to do. And I think it's also our responsibility as a school board to hold the superintendent to a high standard, to make sure that they are doing what we ask of them and need of them, and connecting with them on a continual basis, and just being in communication with them to make sure that they're also continuing to have our best interests at heart.
Thank you. Okay. All right, this is pretty specific, and so I don't know if this is directed at a particular issue, but I will ask it. Would you defend, this is a policy question, would you defend a teacher who chose to use SEL, which is social emotional learning, in the classroom, and if so, how? And we'll start with Ms. Lynch.
Well, thanks for the question. As I said earlier, I was actually invited to the Morningside Center workshop last night around student and social and emotional learning for the students in the K through 6 program, and I learned a lot about it. Yeah, I think one of the things that just became so obvious, one is it is state mandated, so absolutely I think we do need to ensure that we're doing our part. But secondly, when the facilitator asked all of us in the room what our wishes are for our kids, which you can imagine most of them were related to happiness, feeling successful, and different variations of the sort. It was pretty obvious that we are all invested in their social and emotional well-being, not just their academics, right? And so how do we help bring kids into the world that are good communicators, that are problem solvers, that can join a team, that can lead others, that can feel confident? That requires social and emotional learning and opportunity beyond, arithmetic and writing. and reading. And so I think I would support a teacher who'd like to learn more or use social and emotional learning in their classroom.
Thank you. Ms. Armando?
I would absolutely support a teacher implementing social emotional learning in their classroom. It's been in use, Morningside's been in use in Onteora for a few years now. So any teacher that's using that in their classroom has been educated on how to use it. And if they're having issues or if something is coming up where they're not feeling confident, I would hope that they would be able to reach out to their administrators or the school board asking for more resources for help. But I can understand how it would be overwhelming in the times that we're in right now and coming out of COVID, that perhaps it might not always be in the curriculum on how they're supposed to handle or resolve a child's need. So I would hope that we would constantly find resources for them and support them and train them till they do feel confident in implementing it in their classroom situations. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor?
I believe that our children are lacking coping skills, and I think the COVID pandemic kind of brought to light in my children also how to react to maybe adversity, how to problem solve, how to move forward. I know I'm seeing now with the 2 years, not off, but different, the kids going back, they don't know how to deal with things that are maybe going on between friends, between teachers, how to ask questions, how to interact. So I would support social emotional learning because if you don't have a solid base for how to deal with it, how to feel safe and loved, then you can't move forward to a higher level to learn anything else.
Thank you. All right. This district has hired consultants, but never seems to follow up. What are your feelings about closing space in the district? And we'll start this time with Ms. Raimondo.
Well, I can't speak specifically to what the consultants have brought to the table in the past. I'm not knowledgeable on that. I would encourage that if we do spend our resources and our taxpayer dollars to have consultants come in, that we would actually look at that data. When it comes to school closings, I can tell you that I was a community member in Kingston when they did consolidate, and I do understand that there are multiple pieces to that. There's emotional pieces to that, and community, and finances. So I think that if we do collect data and information, that it's our responsibility to use it and to apply it and to at least explain to the community what's been found and try to find a solution within it that can meet the need for what we're asking. So if we look at closing schools, we have to look at the dollars and cents of it all. But I'm also a parent who had a school close on them in Kingston, so I can look at it from all sides. And I would be respectful of all of it, the data and the emotional side of it.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor?
To be honest, I was probably one of the people that rolled my eyes every time I hear another consultant has been brought on board. Not saying I disagree with it, but I would want to, do we have to spend money on something if we don't have to? We are a small community. I myself am feeling the crunch of, the financial stuff that's going on, and I want to make sure we're actually spending our money on something we need. How many times do we have to look at the same issue before we decide on it? Nobody wants to close a building. Like I said, we were impacted when Bennett was kind of split and sent out. The district lines keep moving, or, are my kids going to move? Are they not going to move? What's the bus going to be like? And if we're going to hire a consultant and then just do what we wanted in the beginning and just kind of put up a smoke screen, that's something we need to look into. I'm not saying that was done, but I want to actually spend money on things that make sense, that are not going to waste our money, and that we can make a decision as a community and move forward. I think we keep circling around the same issues for the past 10 to 15 years, but not actually made a decision. Or like we make it, then we take 5 steps back, and then, well, maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't. Like, make a decision, move forward. I think it's just drawing out the discontent within the community. You know, we are so rural and so expansive that unfortunately not everybody is going to be happy. If I wanted to be completely honest, I had from the beginning wanted to move towards a single campus. Just because our children are going to end up in the high school eventually. My children have always had a 45 to 50-minute bus run, so I feel the pain that, you know, putting a little kid on the bus and having them there for so long and maybe them falling asleep and getting them off. I've been there, done that, but I think that we need to start thinking we are a shrinking community and we need to start moving forward to things that make sense.
Thank you. Ms. Lynch.
Yeah, thank you very much. I completely agree with my colleagues. I also was here when the conversation came up now 3 years ago, I believe. And I was a new parent in the Phoenicia community. And so I feel strongly that we need to be, again, building liaisons and bridges to each of the school buildings and better understand what the issues are for each of those schools, both in Woodstock, Phoenicia, and in the central campus. Each community has very valid concerns that extend beyond the financial burden of a declining enrollment, and so they all need to be weighed equally. And I think we do need to think about the economy, the local economy, as well as the needs. So for my point being that, you know, thinking about ways in which we could, as I know, you know, there was the same sort of thing taken into account when we sold the West Hurley building, you know, what will that mean for our community and for the needs of this area? I think there's a responsibility to do that analysis as well.
Thank you. Okay, this is kind of a follow-up to that. How would you improve communication to parents about daily and weekly goings-on in the schools so that we are not as dependent on word of mouth or the kids, and I've been there, especially in the upper grades? So we'll start with Ms. Taylor.
I find the communication is kind of lacking. I hear things from my children that might not always be accurate. I might hear it the day of something, and now I'm scrambling to get things done. On Facebook, I don't find that I don't always get the information, so I don't want to have to rely on that. I do find that the emails from the superintendent catch my eye more than anything else. I would like to see those increased. I know Remind app is a useful tool for some things. I don't know if that is able to use on such a large scale for everybody, but I would like to depend more on like emails and something that goes directly to the parent, so I don't always have to depend on my children giving me the information. Even though they are older, they might not think something's important that I would, and we're all busy. I don't want to have to, you know, look for a paper that might have been stuffed down somewhere. I would like to hear it directly from the teachers and the administration and not have my children be a go-between.
Thank you. Ms. Lynch?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I feel really strongly about this. This is actually one of the reasons I'm running. I feel very strongly that we need a full audit of what's available in terms of communications professionals in the district and on these in-campuses, and then a full audit of what is available and the technology we're using, like ShoutPoint and other things, to better understand what's working and what's not. And I know the board is currently trying to put a survey out that's taken a few months, and so we're all eager to participate in that and get the data we need. That's the first thing. But certainly, you know, I think recovering from COVID requires us to go back to basics, right? And so we need to build back trust. We need a sense of normalcy, and we need the energy to do our best. And better communication underlies all of that. The amount of work we're putting on our poor teachers to communicate with each of us who are hitting them up by the ones because we don't know what's happening from one day to the next is really old school. We need to empower them, we need to give them the tools they need, and we need to, whether it's the Remind app or anything else, and we need to do it across the board, bring some consistency to it. I heard from a Woodstock parent that her teacher sends out weekly newsletters to parents. That is outstanding, and I hope she has the support she needs to do that, because the rest of us are in the dark half the time. And it's incumbent on us to lean on, 5 and 6 year olds to tell us what's going on. So I think it's really important that we get this right. It's not just about, keeping people in the know, but it's also about efficiencies and running a system that it really is struggling to recover from this global pandemic.
Thank you, Ms. Armando.
I agree with them both for all the reasons that they said, and a lot of it is consistency and just an understanding of what to expect. So if we start our school years out and we know that we're going to be getting information from our school principal weekly, bi-weekly, that we know what to expect. We know to be checking our emails. Or if we do a complete audit and we find a system that works across the board for all ages, that's alerting us for maybe not every single reminder that we need to have, but the important things that are, headliners would be great to know, because it allows parents to facilitate attending when we need to attend something, or watching something we need to watch. And it just lays out a plan of, again, communication and complete trust of knowing what's coming next, which I love knowing that, so I think other people would too. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this one I'm going to read. It has to be paraphrased a little, but Onteora has a budget per student in the top 1% of New York schools. How should that be seen in the community in terms of the advantages our graduates have in the next stage of their lives? And we'll start with Ms. Lynch. Did you understand that?
I'm not sure I totally understand the question. The question is
evidence of the having more money per student.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, Onteora is a very special district in that regard, right? In that it is a rural population with a very high budget, which means we have competitive salaries for our professional staff, our teachers, and the administrators, and as a result, that is a huge benefit to our students, and it's something that we need to protect. This school is small in numbers, the classroom sizes are small, the opportunities for extracurriculars are there. I feel really strongly that that we protect that. It's really important that we continue that those centers of excellence, and that we maintain that sense of feeling pride in our schools, that we feel a real sense, even just as evidenced by the Booster Club work that's going on outside tonight. It's just a beautiful thing, right? To see the community together on a beautiful night, celebrating the athletics and thinking about ways in which we can be using the funds efficiently and maintain that really, I think, important dimension to an education that is broader than just, again, the 4 Bs, right? But really thinking about how unique and special this school is.
Thank you. Ms. Vermondo.
Having come from a larger district from Kingston when we moved here in 2017, so we were in Onteora the entire time, but we were on a dividing line, so we were in Kingston. And the population was very different, the finances were very different, and sometimes we think the grass is greener somewhere else, and being able to see particularly my son flourish here in a small environment with the funding that we do have per student, it's amazing. It's just amazing, and the ability for him to thrive and to grow and to have contact with his teachers who are getting paid what they deserve to be paid, and having the supports that they need to support our children, it's very evident, and that's all I can tell you. It's very evident in comparison to other places, and I'm very grateful that we set the bar so high and that we use our resources and our taxpayer dollars to have our children graduate the way that they do at the rates that they do, so that they can go out and feel successful and ready to greet the world. That's, not always easy, but I think that having a supportive environment like they have here helps them begin the navigation of being an adult. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor.
I do realize that our student cost per student is higher than the national or the state average. I know that being a rural community, we have a wide range of student populations and family populations. Some might need a little bit more help than others. I would like to see maybe we can look at what our actual spending is to see that we're spending it on the right things. Maybe there is a little extra fluff that we can cut. I know our great teachers are getting a salary that is competitive to bring them in and keep them here because we are so rural, and you have to have a draw to bring somebody to Olive Bridge as opposed to something maybe a little bit more fancier. Healthcare costs, unfortunately, like everywhere across the country, is very expensive, and I know that reflects in a lot of our spending. But I would like to see if there's things that we can tweak to try and make sure that all the student populations are benefiting from the per student money. You know, we have that great new ball field, the field and stuff like that, but now maybe spread the wealth a little bit to, you know, maybe the drama club to get new microphones, or, you know, free lunch has been going on for COVID. Maybe that is something, you know, do we qualify for Title I? Can we do something better for all the children to make sure that they eat, you know, 2 meals a day, so that maybe they don't have that when they go home, especially with the financial hardships that are happening nowadays.
Thank you. What are your thoughts on the time change issue? And we'll start with Ms. Raimondo.
The time change issue. Okay. So, from my understanding, the data that has been spread around is relatively old, so we don't have new data to be working on to make decisions. But I also don't, for 20 minutes, to change an entire district and turn it on its head, I don't support that. So there you go.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor?
I was against it when they first brought it up, and I was against it now. Again, 20 minutes to me is insignificant. I can hit my snooze button more often than I would get 20 minutes at the end of the day. I do think it would negatively impact the elementary school children, especially because they already get home. I know my kids are getting home at 4:30, if that. Add 20 minutes to the end of the day, and it's now 5 o'clock. In the morning, impacting the children that way, I have to get to work. So I know it sounds selfish, but my kids would still get up at the same time every morning, so they're not actually getting any more sleep. I would rather work on getting education out to the families. Again, limiting electronic usage, maybe highlighting social media, what's going on with the kids. I know, you know, I try to anyway. I take away their electronics at the end of the night. They, sounds old-fashioned, but they have a bedtime. I have a bedtime. I have to get to bed. So everybody goes to bed. I would like to work with the families to see what we can do to help them so that the kids know that sleep is important. I know they're very busy with sports, so if we did that 20-minute time change or any time change, we're now affecting BOCES children, we're affecting the sports teams. If we're the only district that does it, now how is it going to affect all the other games? Some children have to work after school. Again, financially, some families might depend on that for the older kids. And then you have children that are babysitting their younger siblings. Maybe parents can't change their work schedule. So a happy family makes for happy children. And a decision like that will impact the whole family, and the whole family has to be healthy for the children to be healthy.
Thank you. Ms. Lynch?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I feel I understand the premise of the proposal, and I agree with you know, with my colleagues here that the outcome didn't. I'm glad it was, you know, the resolution was rescinded. It didn't make sense for 20 minutes. I understand that it was progress towards a larger goal, but it might just not work for this district. And I think the underlying cause is transportation. It's not about starting 20 minutes later. So we need to look at the underlying causes of these issues. And we had some really wonderful community conversations with folks and parents and other professionals who talked about what's really the issue here when we're talking about mental health, right? And as you said, Christy, it is about social media. That wasn't there in the 90s when this data first came up around starting schools later for high school kids. It doesn't mean we don't want to mitigate against car accidents or reduce mental health issues or other things, but let's look at those underlying causes and bring solutions that are relevant to today and relevant to the Onteora community. I think that's what's most important. And as we look at this committee structure that's supposed to take place over the next year, and we bring together an inclusive group of stakeholders to meet much more regularly to tackle this issue, I hope we are addressing what's much more relevant than just moving kids around for 20 minutes.
Thank you. What steps, if any, beyond existing policies should the district take to protect students from violence or harassment? And we'll start with Ms. Taylor.
Not to sound like a broken record, but bullying used to be back when we were younger. I disagree with it completely, but you were in school or maybe an after-school activity, and then you went home to a safe area. Social media, again, follows these children constantly. It is always in their face. They always, have to, they're attached to it. I'm attached to it. I look at it, maybe let me check it one more time before I go to bed, let me check it again. You get lost in it, and they just can't escape it. So God forbid there's a bully on there, it is following them all the time, and they don't know how to cope with it. They don't know how to shut it off. And then it's not a person-to-person thing. It's now out there, and you can't take it back. It's everywhere. I would like to see more, like I said, I like the SROs. I think that my children feel safe when they see Deputy Tom or any of the others that have been around. I'd like to have the teachers freed up so that they can be in the hallways. They can be watching the children. They can be seeing what's going on. I know the school bathrooms, I saw signs for limiting 2 children in there at a time. I know why they're doing it, but I don't think it's really working. I know my kid has to run from one end to the other and can't use the bathroom because there's a line or she can't get in there or whatever. I'd like to have more faces out there in the hallway so that they can see it. The kids feel safe. They can go and talk to the teachers. I absolutely love our guidance department. I love the social workers. We use them. I recommend them. But I think having hands-on faces available in the hallway and being able to have the children talk to people.
Good. Thank you. Ms. Lynch.
Yeah, thank you. Like any massive issue like this one, it's important to ask what's needed. So I think the role of the board would be to have those conversations, to better understand what's working, what's not, track the data, scale what's working, fail fast when it's not, and continue to support those who are in the building every day. And I do think that absolutely includes the kids at all ages. We need to understand what's driving this, and while all of us feel a heightened sense of aggression coming out of COVID, all of us do, we have to understand what that means for kids at different ages and in different environments, contexts. So I think the role of the board would be to take an inquisitive approach with all of the different stakeholders and make sure that we are also seeking out the resources that are available to us from outside of this school, right? There are plenty of federal dollars. There are lots of mental health organizations in Kingston, across New York, actually nationally. There are a lot of resources available to public schools that are not being utilized right now. And I think that is our job, is to bring those partnerships to the administrators to consider what they can take advantage of.
Thank you. Ms. Armando.
I too have a son in the high school who runs from one end of the building to the other, back and forth all day long, and he has limited access to the bathroom. And when we speak about it, it's because there's things happening in there that shouldn't be happening in there. And we can, I suppose, easily say that we need to put more adults around and have monitoring, but I think that it goes deeper than that. I think that we can't expect that of a building until we understand the logistics of that and how we can free up the teachers that we want to free up, or the staff too, so that our kids have adults in the hallways. So there's a bigger picture there that has to be looked at on how we make that happen in reality. And I also think that continued education on social media and its effects on kids is something that needs to be constantly given to administrators and staff and the board, probably more regularly than it is, because I think it's ever changing of how we're seeing it affect our children. And the more we can have current data so we can make decisions on programming or supports or education around it is important. So I think it should be something that's continually being shared with us and being able to get out to the teachers and the support staff and the families on how to mitigate the impact that social media has on our children so that they feel safe in, you know, being able to be online, but knowing how to do that in the proper way for their age. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, unless someone else has a question, this is our last question for the evening. Oh, this is very good time. What do you think a school board member's role is in determining curriculum? And we will start this time with Ms. Lynch.
Well, again, I'll just say, I think, you know, Stephanie Laffin is new to the school district, this is her first year, and I've been really impressed with her and her work and her background and what she's been able to do so far. I think she's a great addition to Onteora, and so, you know, I would first ask her what she needs and think about ways in which, you know, we can support. Again, you know, to think well beyond the direct community, although I'll have to say there's a lot of talent in this community that can help support and enrich the curriculum, but also think about the partners that we can bring in. So I know from recent experience, you know, things like the Ashokan Watershed Program and other things, the community partnership with Astor Counseling, there's a lot that we're doing already with community partnerships, but I would really want to scale that. I think there's, again, no shortage of programs and nonprofits and philanthropies that are interested in supporting these issues, strengthening curriculum, thinking about student achievement, particularly in rural communities and with communities that have the poverty rates that we have. We need to take advantage of that and seek the experts and think about ways in which we can support Assistant Superintendent Laffin and her staff and teachers.
Thank you. Mrs. Armando?
I think that number one, the goal is to obviously have hired someone that we trust to be in that position to make solid decisions for our curriculum as a base. And then I agree, our community is a wealth of talent and resources and opportunities that I don't think I've met anyone who does something here that isn't willing to come and talk to children about it or teach children or share their knowledge of what they do, and the resources here just need to be tapped more. And I think we would find, especially after COVID, that people want to give back more to the community. I mean, that's why I'm here. I'm here because I want to participate and be a player and be helpful. And I think that if we opened our arms to that and just said who wants to come and share all the awesome stuff that they know and that they're talented in, that we could build probably more diversity in our curriculum than we ever thought imaginable.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor?
As a board member, I would feel it's a more supporting role for curriculum. I would depend a lot on the teachers, their feedback, but also I want our children to get back to basics. If they don't have the foundation of times tables and feel confident in that, they really can't progress forward to something else. I agree that our community is diverse and a wealth of information, but I want our children to be competitive in the market now. Not every child is college bound, and that's okay. My husband never stepped foot in the college and doesn't want anything to do with it, but he is quite successful being a welder. So I like the vocational aspect of our BOCES programs. I think we need more of that, letting children know that they can be quite successful on that and they can be a productive member of society. But I would like a path where the children feel comfortable in going into VOTEC if they need it, because we need that strong base in our workforce, but then also having the skills needed and the education needed to be competitive in the collegiate area. but we have a curriculum person, and I don't think that I myself, as a registered nurse and not a teacher, should be making the hard and fast rules of what we're teaching, but I would like to see us go back to basics and have a strong foundation, and then we can let the children pick a path that would make them be successful in their life.
Thank you. So now it's time for our closing statements, and we will begin with Ms. Armando.
In closing, I would like to again thank the League of Women Voters and the PTAs for facilitating this forum. I would also like to thank my husband, children, friends, and community for supporting my decision to run. I fully understand that it is no small task to be a board trustee, and I promise to take the responsibility with the utmost seriousness and uphold the values of our district and all of the work that I do. It is important to lead by example, and when we can be respectful and kind to others and make solid decisions for our school district, it shows our children that working together can be positive and lead to brighter futures for all. I appreciate all of you who have come out this evening to meet us and ask such important questions. When we work together and all feel heard, it makes for solid and positive growth, and that is exciting for the future of our school district. I look forward to the potential of working together and advocating to meet the ever-changing needs of our students, staff, and families. I encourage you all to vote Tuesday, May 17th between the hours of 2 and 9 p.m. at either Phoenicia Elementary, Woodstock Elementary, or Bennett Elementary schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor.
I wanted to say thank you, everybody, for coming and for supporting us for whoever you vote for. As a board member, if elected, I would like to think I'd make common sense decisions based on what is best for the community, make a stronger community, so that everybody can thrive and feel that they have input into it and something to be proud of, and let the children have a safe experience in the school where they feel like they can talk to people, they can make decisions that will lead them to having a life they can be proud of and that they can be successful in. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lynch?
Yeah, thank you very much again, Cindy and Lindsay and John, and to my neighbors and friends, Girl Scout cookie moms and softball moms and soccer moms, and the Phoenicia PTA board, and current board members and those who are leaving. Thanks so much to all of you for your interest. I would, I would say that I think, and sorry I was too verbose in my opening remarks, but I think, I bring both, a professional, a personal, and a philosophical interest to becoming a school board member. On the philosophical one, I was just saying that I think, for us to be where we are today in this context and thinking about defending our democracy, there's nothing more important than investing in informed citizenry. And for me, making sure that we do have that opportunity in this community to inspire young people to be their best selves, I think there's really no other cause that I'm more interested in, particularly with 3 little ones at home. But I also feel very strongly that, particularly my husband and I run a small business, Marty's Mercantile, up in West Shokan. We've benefited from learning. We've benefited from learning alongside each of you about what makes this community tick. And we've benefited from the opportunity to partner with others who are doing things well, if not better. And that's motivating. And so I'd love to think about ways in which we can bring that same sense of partnership, of a community mindset, and a growth mindset to this role. When we think about the role of the board, we're not just administrators of an institution, right? Particularly in a rural community, we have to think about the virtuous cycles that come from bringing such a strong school district and school center to this community and to the economy. My friend Joanna and I talked about what ifs, right? And we talked about the curriculum question, but what if we did invest in, the food industry in this community, or the music industry in this community, and other things that are thriving, and connect pre-K kids all the way through 12th grade to think about how they can learn and give back to this community in ways that have that virtuous cycle. That's exciting to me, and I'd love to be a part of this this district and this community in that way. And I thank you for your interest and engagement, and really look forward to working alongside you.
Okay. That was a great job. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. They had great questions for not too many. Thank you to Rebecca DeGandia, who helped out. But thank you the most to Lindsay. And you are both our sponsor and our timekeeper. So thanks for stepping up. And thanks to John for doing the video. Wonderful job, panel. Great candidates. And you may